Yo, what's up guys? It's RicRom over here, and today I'm going to bring you a special type of video, a new one for the channel. This is going to be my first collaboration video here, hosted on my channel, on the RicRom channel. And with me, I have a very special guest. Some of you already know him, but I'll let him introduce himself.
Alright guys, Saku wants to fight here. So the video we're watching is 10 worst characters in fighting games, which was posted by a British gaming channel called TripleJump. They're quite corny and sometimes their commentary can make you cringe, but they do have that in sort of like whimsical humour about them. I've never seen the video and I don't think you have as well, so this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start the video. So let's just let it play and then we can do some reaction or commentary over it. Alright.
Cool.
Are all about competition, and any good competition should be fair, which is why the Office Egg and Spoon tournament didn't work out. I know you glued your egg to your spoon, James. Ensuring proper gameplay balance is a monumental task, and fighting game developers go to great lengths to ensure that it's as close to that precarious place of perfection as possible. But no matter how meticulously well balanced a fighting game may be, it's impossible to account for every detail, and some characters are going to inevitably drift to the top or bottom of the heap. And in the most extreme cases, a few drift right past the bottom of the heap and into the swirling abyss of dread and agony beneath it. This list is about those unlucky few, the characters who, whether because of a joke, an oversight, or sheer bad luck, sink to the lowest tiers of the rankings to become the worst of the worst.
Oh god, Jump Force.
TripleJump, and here are the 10 worst characters in fighting games. Number 10, Dan Hibiki, Street Fighter Alpha. Back in the halcyon days of the 90s, there were two big names on the fighting game scene, Capcom and SNK.
Yep.
Fortunately, while the competition between these
funny
two was very much real,
general
they like to keep
consensus
it
says that, like, you know, Dan Hibiki is probably one of the worst players in Street Fighter. But I beg to kind of differ. Like, he's kind of useless with range, but respectively, he's probably a hell of a lot more better than Rufus and Abel, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's more memorable too, and I think he's also like a little bit more viable than a lot of other characters as well.
Yeah, because I remember a while back, me and a few guys were playing Alpha 3, and someone was crazy enough to pick Dan in X-ism of all things.
Oh,
fucking
God.
X-isms. And yet still whomped my ass hard.
Yeah. So this one, I can kind of see just because he's the joke character, but yeah, no, he's definitely viable in a lot of games.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand the general consensus for him kind of looking like a Temu version of Steven Seagal crossbred with fucking Robert Garcia, but
Yeah.
come on, put respect on Dan's name.
Well, at least he's number 10 on the list, so that's a good thing he's not higher.
Yeah, that's actually pretty decent on his part.
In his design, Dan's moveset was deliberately hamstrung in comparison, an example of this being a fireball that only travels about 6 inches. His only asset, if you can call it that, is a unique ability to taunt an unlimited number of times during a match. Both Dan's goofy design and his lackluster arsenal were deliberate jabs at SNK's rival series, Art of Fighting, specifically the characters Ryo and Robert, whom Capcom felt hewed just a bit too closely to their own characters. However, while the intent behind Dan was obvious, it was all in good fun, and the character who was made bad on purpose ended up becoming another beloved member of the Street Fighter crew, and later turned out to be a genuinely viable, if still goofy, fighter in later installments. Number 9.
Yeah, because and they brought him back for 5 near the last season, and I think he's just like an okay character.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm still not. I mean, like, I'm still kind of unsure why the general consensus says Dan.
Yeah. Maybe because he's just the most memorable Joe character. But yeah, in the right hands, he's gonna be very deadly.
Agreed. Because I actually seen him. Because I don't really play like MVC myself, but I've seen like people over in Frosty Fight Club use him in like I think it was MVC 2, and my God, he was just crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's also just a big feat that he's already in MVC2 over like Sagat or something.
Okay, let's see the next one.
Alright.
Ganondorf, the Super Smash Bros. Series.
Oh.
The Super Smash Bros. Games are all about featuring
yeah,
an all-star
I don't really
roster
play
of
Smash,
gaming's
so I can't
biggest
really
names, iconic heroes and villains from across the
You fuck
digital
with it?
landscape.
I've
shooting
played it
out
like
all in the
every
name
now and
of
then with
good
like
fun.
friends and stuff.
Hailing from the
I do
Legend of
remember
Zelda
Ganondorf
series,
being like very
Ganondorf,
slow in
also known
melee,
as
but
the
I
King
can't
of
really
Evil,
speak on
is a powerful
his,
warrior
like,
and
tier
mighty sorcerer
ranking.
who strikes fear in the hearts of all who face him. It's too bad then that none of that really translates to the fighting game arena. While his raw power and strength are second to none, Ganondorf has been at or near the bottom of the tier list for almost every Smash game he's appeared in due to his ponderous speed and his tendency to fall like a rock when he's knocked off the edge of the stage. It should only take Ganondorf 1 or 2 hits to knock out an opponent, but when his attacks are so slow that the opponent often has time to run from one end of the arena to the other and still land a counterattack, that is much easier said than done. Speed and maneuverability are both important abilities in Smash, and those are the two things that Ganondorf has an absolute dearth of. Combine that with his tendency to send himself plummeting over the edge, and it's a small wonder Ganondorf finds himself sinking straight to the bottom of the roster.
Yeah, so from what I can speak on Ganondorf, I just know he's like a very slow version of Captain Falcon in the games because I know they reuse some of their moves. But I think I know from what I've heard from other people in Ultimate, he just became a better character and more unique. So I'm not sure if I completely agree with that. I feel like there are more worse characters in like that particular series, but
Yeah, this is kind of lost on me because I don't really play Smash, and and the last time I did play it was around 2013 because me and a few friends were going to some university to play Magic the Gathering, and there's some dude actually bought a Wii with 4 GameCube controllers and hooked up to a projector. I played like I think it was Solid Snake in the Smash game. I don't know which one it was, but Snake was in it, and I thought I really cannot get into this game. It's not for me.
yeah, because usually when I play Smash, it's mostly just the party version. I don't like doing the 1v1 or the whole highly competitive like version of it. But
I genuinely don't like the controls.
yeah, because it's definitely like a newcomer like fighting game, if we can call it that. I would say more of like a party game.
I would argue it. I would argue it for being a fighter, but not in the traditional sense like you would with 1v1, 2Ds or 3D fighters. Heck, to this day, I'm still arguing for arena fighters being fighters, but people say no, they're not. Okay then.
Yes, I might get flagged for the Smash comment, but yeah, I don't really know what to say on Ganondorf on this part, but yeah.
Yeah. If any Smash players watching this video, give us your opinion on him, please.
Yeah. All right, let's move on.
Number 8, Hercule, Dragon Ball Z Budokai. If there's
I
one
want to
thing
pause for
Dragon
this.
Ball
I want to
games
pause for
are
this.
known for,
I'll explain.
it's-
In some aspect, yes, I actually genuinely agree. But he's actually a lot better in this game than he would in Ultimate Battle 22. At least he can fly. Well, if you consider jetpack flying, because in like UB22 for the PlayStation, that motherfucker is probably more useless than Dan. He can't fly. He can't charge up his key. And when you do charge up his key, it does nothing. It's just basically going like. So yeah, I'm kind of with you on this, but Budokai Hercule is better than UB22 Hercule.
Yeah, I think I don't really play a lot of the Budokai games. I know the new one just came out, the Sparking Blast. Sparking Zero, I think.
Yeah, I haven't played Sparking Zero yet.
Because I played Budokai Tenkaichi 3 on Wii. I remember Hercule being very low tier, but that's because that's more like the joke of the character, especially just like it would be more of a lore accurate Dragon Ball interpretation.
Lots and lots and lots of characters, most of them Gokus. But among all the giant monkeys and different colours of hair, not everyone can be a planet-destroying menace. Enter Hercule, or Mr. Satan to use his more correct moniker, the man canonically seen as the most powerful fighter in the world of Dragon Ball, despite being vastly outmatched by everyone else in the cast. As a playable character in Dragon Ball Z Budokai, everything about Hercule is a joke. His punches and kicks are laughably weak, he can't throw energy blasts, and he needs to wear a jetpack just to be able to keep up. Much like the source material, Hercule's presence in Budokai is intended solely for comedy, as evidenced by his ultimate move involving an exploding Game Boy. There's even a secret mode called Legend of Hercule, in which the player must fight through the rest of the roster under increasingly difficult conditions using only Hercule, an incredibly difficult challenge given the character's limitations. While he won't be winning any professional tournaments, it's the inclusion of characters like Hercule that lend these kinds of games that
playing off strings though.
Service. After all, what kind of fighting game would it be if it didn't include the world champion himself? Number 7. Serve.
Oh, okay.
Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
This one's more. This one is more of your
territory.
But
the size of the fight in the dog.
Although MVC2 is the game I really need to learn a little bit more. I do remember just seeing Servbot as a kid as well. And for everyone watching the video, MVC2 has got to be like one of the most iconic games in the entire series. And Servbot, Roll, and I believe to an extent Mega Man have like the smallest like hitbox, because Servbot is just a reused sprite from Tronbon, because he can summon all the Servbots and stuff.
You say the small hitboxes, and you forget like Arthur from MVC3 exists.
Oh yeah, I love Arthur in MVC3. I love his projectile spams. But yeah, let's see what they have to say about Servbot, and then maybe I'll add some comments after.
The fighting game fans back in the day, with its massive roster packed full of recognizable all-stars from the worlds of Marvel Comics and classic Capcom games. Tucked in alongside the superheroes and super fighting robots, however, were a handful of less popular characters, including the diminutive Servbot. Originally hailing from Mega Man Legends, Servbot actually makes 2 appearances within the game, as a part of Tronbon's moveset and as a character on his own. If you think being used as a weapon by another fighter doesn't bode well for his own chances, you'd probably be right.
I've never seen Servbots. The only time I've ever kind of seen one was their like head that you can use as a weapon in Dead Rising.
Yeah, in the first Dead Rising, and you can, in Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, and I think in MVC3, Frank West uses that as like an anti-air super too.
I always thought they looked like Lego people.
Yeah, exactly. Little Lego guys.
At the bottom of tier lists as one of the absolute worst fighters in the game. Ridiculously small and underpowered, Servbot is so weak that his super moves, that's his most damaging techniques, actually do more damage if they are blocked than if they land a direct hit. It's fortunate for him that he's so darn cute, because playing as Servbot can get ugly real fast. Number 6.
I love how he mentions like the
okay, no.
That's a little too much. Okay, I don't agree with what we just saw, but we can go back to talk about Servbot. So Servbot, I can kind of see why they see that, because in big tournaments you're not going to see Servbot like a lot. You're going to see more Magnetos, Cables, Sentinels, and all the like crazy motherfuckers in that game. But with Servbot, all I can really say is that he is the Joe character. He's like everyone would say the Dan Hibiki, or even to an extent Anita from Marvel Superheroes, which is a super secret character that reuses Anita's sprite in Darkstalkers, and she does a lot more damage with her chip damage than she does with actual damage. But this, I can just say, it's just like the little gag character, and I mean, if you can pull off fucking TODs with Servbot and you just like know how to fuck shit up with Servbot, I'd say you just go for it. But yeah, although I don't know like a lot about MVC2, I can kind of agree with this just because you don't really see Servbot that much.
Playing
Understandable.
a Servbot can get ugly real fast. Number 6.
All right.
Rock Howard, Guru, Mark of the
Guru.
Wolves. A good main
Okay,
character is
I'm
never
gonna say
easy
this.
to make.
I have to say
The
this. TripleJump, go fuck yourself. Genuinely, go fuck yourself.
That's the boy,
I'm
dude. Fucking Garu.
job only becomes harder when you're trying to replace an existing protagonist with a newer, younger model. That was exactly the problem SNK had on their hands during development of Guru, Mark of the
Guru?
Wolves, an installment in
It's
their
Garo.
Fatal Fury.
They say it in the opening.
While Terry Bogard, aka Buff Pokemon Trainer,
I already don't like that meme.
franchise, Guru moved the story forward several years to focus on a new generation of pugilists centered on Terry's protege, Rock Howard. On the outside, Rock had everything going for him. A cool look, flashy poses, an indelible aura of teenage angst. But if you actually try to play as him, your opinion may change rapidly. Though nothing about Rock is fundamentally broken per se, he struggles during battle against any opponent who
That is really unfair to just compare to Rock, especially since I'm a Rock main in Garo, not Garu. But just because he's not like a super high tier, I wouldn't say he's like laughably bad. I wouldn't put him anywhere near a top 10 list for worst characters.
I mean, if anything, we really can't say on who's actually genuinely the worst character in Garo, because they are all genuinely good in their own rights.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, there's going to be some characters that are not so good in tournament play, but there is plenty in that roster that do offer quite a lot of intricate like shit along, and especially when it comes to like their power moves, it's like when you see like fucking the Deadly Rave Neo pulled off by like Rock. I've never pulled it off myself, but I know people have, and honestly, seeing the end result of it being pulled off is actually pretty satisfying. And also, I think with that also being said, like he's actually decent because he also has like mostly counter moves.
Yeah.
So that to put him in this list is just kind of fucking unjustified.
Yeah. Yeah, and from and like he said, because he's supposed to be the next protagonist in the next generation. This is one of those games where I wouldn't put it where it was definitely bad or not as well received, because this was definitely like a good like point in the series, which is why we're going to get City of the Wolves, which is a sequel to this. And Rock Howard is a mix between Terry and Geese, so he is going to be easier to play, but if you really want to master him, he's going to be really hard, like if you're trying to learn a little bit of Geese. But I would not agree with this part in the list.
I have to agree with you, man.
Yeah.
This is just a slap in the face for Rock.
I'll give them a thumbs down for this one. Yeah.
who isn't himself. In terms of mobility, combo potential, and raw power, Rock lags behind every other character on the roster, often relying on his most powerful super moves to do any meaningful damage.
I love how they're saying all this and they're showing just how cool and good Rock is in the background. So, I'm not sure.
At all, and struggling to pull off even those. Rock would still go on to become a popular character in his own right, but even his most ardent supporters don't argue against his low placement on the game's tier list. Rock Howard, more like Rock Bottom. Got him.
Oh no, that's terrible. Genuinely.
Well, that shit. Why would they say that?
Yeah. And then they had the whole Ash Ketchum meme with Terry. I'm like, oh no, I hate that.
Let's move on before
Yeah.
we decide.
Right.
Before we
decide.
Yeah, before we make this
Number 5,
another type of video.
Sanji, Jump Force. Jump Force is a fighting game with a roster drawn from various manga franchises published in Shonen Jump magazine, including Dragon Ball,
Yeah, it's
Naruto,
another one I never
Bleach,
touched.
to name
Yeah,
a
I've had
few.
friends that were super into
Among
Jump
those
Force
is
before the
also
memes,
One
and
Piece, one of the
I can't really speak
best-selling
on this
media
either.
franchises of all time that deservedly
I mean,
got
I've
quite
played
a
enough
few
arena
characters.
fighters, and I know that Sanji from like One Piece Burning Blood, he's actually I'd say he's actually a decent mid tier.
Hmm.
But for this game in general, I don't know how to even comprehend this one because I've never played Jump Force.
Yeah,
On the roster.
and I'm not sure there even is like still a way to play it because I think that game's been delisted,
Sanji
right?
is known for many things,
Yeah, it has.
being a ship's cook, fighting exclusively with kicks, and being a shameless skirt chaser, most notable among them. And overall, he's well represented within the game, being given a solid moveset with unique special attacks that make him a balanced fighter. Most of the time. To represent the character faithfully, Sanji was also given the unique attribute of being unable to fight women whatsoever.
Oh,
He
wow,
refuses to
okay.
do so in the manga. This means that should a player find themselves fighting as Sanji against one of the female fighters in the game, they'll be unable to deal any amount of damage, essentially forcing them to lose by default. While even this is not enough to make Sanji the weakest character ever, it does give him an Achilles heel visible from space to be exploited by anyone you might be playing against.
That is kind of a not so good feat, I would say. Imagine you
I mean, it's canonically accurate. It really is. If anyone's seen the series, but I think that is probably more of a detriment than a gimmick.
Yeah. And and I guess like if some ungodly reason you have a friend that wants you to come over and you pick Jump Force, just let him choose his character first and just choose not to choose Sanji, and problem avoided.
Yeah, I think if I ever had the opportunity to play this game, which is less than likely, I think the character I would have actually picked would definitely be Yoichi from Bleach. I don't know why, but she just seems like fun in that game.
Yeah, I think there's a Saint Seiya, like there's some Saint Seiya characters, so that'll probably be the only character I'll choose other than like Goku or Vegeta. But yeah, this I'm not sure what to comment on about, but I'd say just choose a different character.
Oh, well,
Which can be said for most of these
chivalry's not dead,
on the list.
I guess. Number 4, Yoda, Soul Calibur 4. Whether we're seeing characters...
So have you played Soul Calibur 4?
I have played Soul Blade, Soul Calibur 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. But I've kind of skipped. I kind of missed out on number 4. I don't really know much from why Star Wars characters are in these versions, but then again, considering the fact that Heihachi was in Soul Calibur 2, Link was in Soul Calibur 2, and Spawn was in Soul Calibur 2, but for different platforms, I think it kind of is no surprise. Also, given for the fact that Geralt from the Witcher series is in Soul Calibur 6.
Yeah. So I guess we could just let him like talk. I do have not a lot, but a decent amount to talk about in Soul Calibur 4 for this specific one.
Swords with the cast of Samurai Showdown, or seeing Ryu from Street Fighter trading blows with, well, literally anyone at this point.
Oh, that was actually a pretty fun time.
Yeah.
Seems to
when
have
it
become
came
the
out.
hottest trend in fighting games. Soul Calibur jumped on this bandwagon fairly early, with the second installment seeing appearances from Tekken's Heihachi Mishima, The Legend of Zelda's Link, and Spawn from...
Yeah, exactly what
Spawn,
you were
depending on
mentioning.
which platform you played on. However, Soul Calibur 4 took things to a whole new level by featuring appearances from Star Wars mainstays Darth Vader and Yoda. Putting aside questions about how literally any of these characters are blocking actual lightsabers, it was both cool and weird to see these sci-fi legends in the medieval world of Soul Calibur. More to the point though, Yoda seemed to lose something in transition. While the movies portrayed him as an agile, masterful warrior, Yoda's squat stature makes him the slowest, weakest character in the game. Hindered by short reach and low
I can
health,
actually see
Yoda
that.
is
I can actually
dominated
see
by-
that from looking at the footage, because like when it comes to like these sort of games, especially Soul Calibur, like it's really more or less of how you play defensively, because if you're going to be at a certain point, you're pretty much open for low attacks.
Yeah.
So with him being that size and also having that kind of build, kind of puts him not only as an easy target, but he'd actually get more hits due to probably how big his hitbox actually is.
Yeah.
If that is the case.
Yeah, and especially since if you're going to go against characters like Killick or like Nightmare that have very long reach, you're going to be like, well, shit out of luck on here.
Also,
other characters
if you also
in
include
Soul Calibur
characters
4.
like Killick and Song Mina as well.
Yeah.
And even when he can land a hit, the damage he does is laughable. Being less than half the size of a regular character essentially breaks the game for Yoda, putting him at a wholly unique disadvantage. He may be a Jedi Master, but the Force was anything but strong with Yoda this time around.
So, I think he's going to be near the end of his explanation, but Yoda, if for those of you guys who don't know, during Soul Calibur's 4's like launch or reveal, Yoda was an exclusive character for the 360, Darth Vader was for the PS3, and Starkiller, which was the apprentice, they called him the apprentice in this game, which was Darth Vader's like apprentice for the Force Unleashed game. He was in both of them.
Sometimes the
And
phrase
he-
size matters not.
There was just this weird collaboration where I think this was in between episode 3 and I think before the Clone Wars, where Star Wars was kind of very big. I remember this because I was a big Star Wars fan as a kid, and when I saw this, I was kind of like really hyped. But Soul Calibur 4 is like a very divisive game in the franchise because it followed after Soul Calibur 3, and now they brought back guest characters. And this was a game where you were kind of punished for guarding too. If you kept doing like push guarding, like if you like, you know how you press forward block, you can like parry some of your attacks. If you did that too much, or if you defended too much, you could lead to this part where they would break your armor or break a piece of your character's like outfit. And if you did that enough times, they can finish you with this thing called like a critical art or critical finish. And that was just an instant kill move for that. And I do also remember Yoda, you could not grab him just because he was so short, which was so weird because you can pick like Astaroth and you would try to grab him and he would just like nudge him, like nothing would happen. But
Yeah, like I say, this one I can't really speak on because like I've played at least majority of those games, but number 4 has, well, I've never really paid attention to it because I think at the time I was still playing number 3. I think out that one and number 1 is personally my favourite Soul Cal series.
Yeah. Number 1 I really love 2, and I think 2 is like one of my favorites. But yeah, this one I'm not sure how I can agree with it. I'm pretty sure there can be people in the comments talking about it, but I don't think I never followed competitive Soul Calibur. But I wouldn't imagine anyone trying to pick like Yoda or any of the Star Wars characters, even though they had their own gimmick, which was like the force meter you could see underneath their health bars. But
yeah, from what I've seen in ranked Soul Cal 6, it's mostly Ivy players.
yeah, and
That I can assure you.
yeah, so I'm not sure how you would really categorize this one. I would say just because he's just such an unconventional character, I wouldn't imagine a lot of people using him. But just because he's Yoda from Star Wars, I'd say I guess it would just be really weird. But yeah, I mean, I do have a lot to say, but just not about Yoda specifically. The Soul Calibur 4 is just like in itself is just a very weird game where people only like once a year when it's May the 4th for that force meme. But yeah.
Oh. Anyway, let's continue.
Does not apply. Number 3, Dr. Boskonovich.
Huh.
Yes, I can agree.
Many would like
Fuck
to say
this
that a
guy.
person's greatest weapon is their mind, but that doesn't mean that a doctorate is a suitable replacement for, you know, a black belt.
And you guys are
Despite
about to
the
see
game's
why.
Yeah.
a whole series of shirtless, muscle-bound men, decrepit old Dr. Boskonovich doesn't necessarily look out of place in Tekken Tag Tournament 2 when he's also surrounded by teenagers, robots, and kangaroos, but he does start to feel like a fish out of water as soon as you get hands-on with him. Boskonovich fights exactly how one would expect a man of his age to fight, that is to say, extremely poorly. His attacks are pitifully slow and weak, and many of them seem to actually hurt him more than the opponent, to the point that he's left lying on the ground, writhing in pain.
Actually,
Yeah.
I do agree with that, but here's the thing: compared to Tekken 3, he was an absolute. He was absolute terrible at that because you just basically couldn't necessarily hit him at all because he was mostly on his back all the time in the game. So I'd say, as much as I do somewhat agree with this, he's actually a lot better in this game, and you can at least hit him. Tekken 3, yeah, you mostly have to do crouching attacks, and it just is so long and fucking tedious.
Aching back. And honestly, who can blame him? I mean, I can relate to this anyway. Given that Tekken Tag Tournament is non-canonical and focuses more on the sheer size of its roster rather than its competitive viability, Boskonovich's return here from Tekken 3 seems geared more for laughs than anything else. I don't see what's so funny about it though. It just feels like I'm watching my granddad in a street fight, or worse, myself in just a few years' time.
So, when it came to Tekken Tag 2, I do remember playing a lot of it, but mostly offline, because I remember the online being a little doo-doo. But I was mostly a Yoshimitsu and Kunimitsu main.
Yeah, because I actually recall that little thing with it, because like when you get the game, like it was mostly offline, but you could go online, and most of the time the codes that came with the cases just didn't work.
Yeah.
And you had to fucking repurchase them from the PSN store.
Yeah. Oh wait, was that around the time they did like the online pass or whatever for the PlayStation? Yeah, I remember that. But yeah, I can't really speak on Dr. Boskonovich, you know, because I didn't use him that much.
I can. I mean, like, out of all the characters, that is probably the worst to play in, like, Tekken 3. It's this guy. I mean, like, he can do ridiculous damage, but the fact is, he's just mostly on the floor most of the time. And it's just really, really fucking tedious. But if you can use him efficiently, you can actually get, a fair few perfect games. That's if your opponent hasn't figured out how to take you out, considering that you're in a position of detriment.
Yeah. So maybe they should choose the Tekken 3 version of Boskonovich instead of the Tekken Tag 2 one.
Yeah, I would actually agree.
Yeah, because I think even Gon was better in that game too. Tekken 3, I remember playing a lot as a kid. I just don't remember using a lot of the secret characters because I was just a dumb little kid, but I love playing like Jin Kasama and Yoshimitsu. But
yeah, unfortunately, my main didn't come about till Tekken 5. So for the time, I just happily played with Xiaoyu.
Yeah, Xiaoyu's good. I love playing her in the newer Tekken games.
Number 2,
definitely.
Potemkin, Guilty Gear, The Missing Link, Zona, Rushdown, Puppet, fighting game characters.
Let's see what they have to say about my boy here.
Perhaps the most controversial of them all is the graphics.
Wait, so did they mention Guilty Gear and they showed Puppet, right? And they showed Ice Climbers when they could have just showed Zato? The actual puppet character.
Potemkin, you mean? Or
I'm talking about like when he was naming the archetypes.
Zona, Rushdown, Puppet.
Yeah, like puppet. Like I think Zato 1 would be the puppet character. I don't know.
Fighting
I don't know much about Melee.
Archetypes, and perhaps the most
it's kind of weird that they
all,
chose ice climbers.
Yeah.
the Grappler.
Actually, do you know who would actually be a good example actually for puppets? I would actually say trying to figure out his name. He's from Blaze Blue, and he's got like this. He's from Blaze Blue, and he's kind of got like this sort of mannequin robot thing that does majority of like the shit for him. Like, it's kind of hard to say because I don't really play. Oh yeah, Carl, that's his name. Yeah, he actually has a puppet. He's actually would be a good example of puppet actually.
I just didn't know much about Melee to know.
Grapplers bring their opponents down not with elegant
Let's see what they have to say about Potemkin.
Projectiles, but good old-fashioned body slams and throws. Hailing from the Guilty Gear series, Potemkin is one of the most famous grapplers of the genre, known for his absurdly damaging Potemkin Buster attack, and for being one of the series' regulars ever since the first game. And while he's had his ups and downs over the years, his beginning was somewhat inauspicious. Guilty Gear The Missing Link is a notoriously buggy game full of glitches and exploits, and none of them are to Potemkin's benefit. As one of the few characters who can't dash, he's also one of the only ones without access to infinite combos. And while some of his moves are good on their own, he lacks the speed and resources to use them.
Yes, this is actually true.
Other characters run circles around Potemkin.
Yeah, because when you actually get into it, like, if you know how to play Potemkin effectively, you could just basically mostly turtle and do higher damage grapples. But because like I actually, when I do get into it with him, despite the fact that I play mostly Baiken, Bridget, and May, Potemkin isn't actually all that bad. Yes, his speed is a detriment, but that's why he makes out in good like damage output. For example, another character, funny enough, speaking of the devil, Justice. Now, obviously, she was a boss character from time to time, but when she was in like Accent Core, like she was also like quite slow, but she did make up for it in like high damage.
Yeah. And that's what makes Guilty Gear a little bit more unique compared to other fighters, that you can like pick up any different character and they're all going to have their great like how should I say, versatility, or like their toolkit can like easily like kind of help them carry across the roster. Because when I play Potemkin, I think in Exard Rev 2 and even in the new one, I think Strive, he has a charge move similar to like Q in Street Fighter 3. And you can kind of like Kara cancel that into like a grappling, which would get a lot of the newbies in there. So I can't really speak on the older Guilty Gear games, but
I kind of can.
Yeah.
Because I do play them. But I don't know if I would actually. I will have to be honest. If there is any character in the Guilty games that I would actually genuinely count as the worst character, it would actually be Happy Chaos. And I'm not saying he's literally the worst because he plays bad, far from it. Like, his damage is completely massively fucking broken.
He's the new character with the gun, right? I haven't seen much of
yeah, he is. Like, you have to be really fucking like intricate with how you play him, because he's not the type for those who will just button mash. That's a given. But when it comes to damage output, it's just literally the worst, because you can get your ass swamped in a matter of seconds. And when I was streaming Strive recent, like a while back, fucking this one guy from chat wanted to play Strive with me, and I was like thinking, you know what, fuck it, why not? And there it was, just happy chaos waiting for me with an evil glint in his eye, just like, you know, was it putting me in the corner with shitloads of combo damage. And I forgot what his finisher was, but all I can say is, if PTSD was it real, whatever Happy Chaos did was the cause of that.
Yeah, but I do remember playing the Strive beta and like early season 1, and I really like the character Nago Ryuki. I like his design, but I fucking hate his gimmick where he'll do like the blood splatter, and he'll like go to like a different mode, and it'll just make you really unsafe. And I just don't know how I could even play with a character like that. This one, I don't really have much to say, but I guess we can keep going to what TripleJump has to say.
He may be one of the largest and most powerful of all the grapplers, but when you're stuck in a game where those aren't redeeming qualities, all you'll be grabbing is a big steaming pile of...
Look, there he has his charge move, so that's very versatile.
Yuichi, Bleach, Dark Souls. Bleach Dark Souls, no, not that Dark Souls, is a fighting game adaptation of the popular manga series for the Nintendo
Oh yeah,
DS.
apparently this was actually a pretty decent port of, the actual decent fighting game for the DS. I've never played it, surprisingly, and I really would have wanted to, because at the time I didn't know what Bleach was, and when I've started reading in the manga, I've actually been kind of looking more into the games and what I would actually consider reviewing in future. This would be one of them, because for something for the Nintendo DS, because it's not known for fighting games, it actually looks a hell of a lot. It actually looks a hell of a lot like competence has been put into it.
Yeah.
Heavily from its source material.
It looks like the DBZ games that were on DS or 3DS as well.
Heroes, villains, and
Namco probably did have involvement in it, so it'd be no surprise.
Too extensive.
Or knowing that, it would probably. I think Sega also had involvement in this.
Potter is a young boy who appears as a minor supporting character and makes an appearance in Dark Souls story mode as an NPC in need of protection. Players can also unlock Yuichi as a playable character, but they really shouldn't bother as he's completely useless. Entirely lacking any powers, abilities, skills, techniques, or really anything that would benefit him in a fight, Yuichi is a pathetic combatant whose primary form of attack is crying. And if that doesn't work, I suppose he can swing his arms around and walk forward, and if his opponent gets hit, it's really their own fault. Now sure, it's hard to blame him for being weak when he's literally an 8-year-old boy, but Yuichi is little better than an empty roster slot in this game, only being good for those masochistic players who want to make things as hard as possible for themselves. Oh, hang on a minute, maybe that's why they called this game Dark Souls.
Alright. So that was TripleJump's video on the top 10 worst characters in fighting games. So we're gonna do a quick cut and then we'll just give our thoughts on it. Alright guys, so that was TripleJump's video on the top 10 worst characters in fighting games, and we're just gonna give off some closing statements and maybe a review of their list, and maybe we'll try to give our own suggestions because we're a little bit more of the fighting game heads over here. So Saku, would you like to give some thoughts?
Well, I mean, for some parts, I kind of understand why they would pick these ones, but you've got to take in consideration that majority of the games that they picked wouldn't actually be considered fighting games, sadly.
Yeah, I agree.
So I would have actually. But despite that, fighting games is such a broad aspect of the genre. Anything at this point can be a fighting game. Heck, there's this Psychic Force, for example, where it's a combination of a 3D fighter with shmup elements.
Oh yeah.
And even then, that's kind of what would practically be the proto Budokai of the was it genre before Budokai even existed. So I would have actually kind of disregarded Ganondorf and Stanji. They should have their own videos of was it non-traditional worst fighting like fighting characters. But saying that, the biggest crime they did was practically shat on our boy Rock.
Yeah, that was really bad.
I'm not a Rock player. But I know when to fucking put respect on his name.
Yeah.
And that fucking joke, why? Why would they say that?
Yeah, the rock bottom thing, man. That was more of the rock bottom of the list to me, to be honest.
It gets worse with every video they do. I mean, like they're kind of interesting to watch, but if you take away the fact that they are from where I'm at, like you should just tell them straight up, just to never fucking tell jokes again. Now, there were a few agreeable ones and probably one conflicting one that I am actually genuinely conflicted about, and that happens to be Potemkin. Now, Dr. B, I do somewhat agree. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I felt that they chose the wrong version.
Yeah.
And finally, another one I do kind of somewhat agree that had the right place would actually be Dan, but I feel that he is a terrible character, but he's genuinely not the worst.
Yeah.
It's just the reason why he's worse is because, like, unlike other Shotos, I've tend to find out that Dan and Sakura actually have the weakest fireballs, so to say. But at least Sakura actually has a little bit more range compared to Dan. Now, as for watching the Yoda video, segment, like I say, I have never played Yoda and I've never played Soul Calibur 4, but I have like fought against like characters in other fighting games that are genuinely small and have like kind of like huge hitboxes that do make them somewhat a target.
Yeah.
So overall, like you pointed out, and I agree with you, that this is probably the most fucking normiest list ever.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
How about you?
I'm on the same boat as you, where I do feel like most of this I just couldn't really give my input on it because it wasn't really like the traditional fighters that we play, or the traditional fighters most people would play or consider it. Like Jump Force, I can't really speak on the Jump Force, the Bleach, most of the anime stuff. Even with the Guilty Gear, I feel like there has to be more worse characters than Potemkin from what I've seen. But the Yoda one, I got a lot of insight, but I feel like thinking throughout the series, there has to be worse characters in Soul Calibur other than just Yoda, because he's the small guest character. Like, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
If memory serves me right, I'm not sure. Is Edge Master like a good character or something?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I feel like having fucking Yoda's inclusion does kind of seem a bit redundant, considering that they chose a guest character and someone who's not established. If I had to be honest, when it comes to like Soul Calibur games, I feel that like the worst character to genuinely play would I forgot what because we have because me and this Twitch channel called Frosty Fight Club. We actually held a Soul Calibur 2 tournament over the Dolphin emulator, and we had a modded version of Soul Calibur 2 where we had Link, Spawn, and Heihachi in the same ROM.
Oh,
so
wow.
that was actually it was pretty nice. But saying that, there was also a lot of other characters that were mostly NPCs in like the main story mode.
Oh yeah, like Assassin and Berserker, right?
Yeah, I would have to be honest. Assassin is probably the worst, but again, that would be kind of unfair because he's not actually an established character.
Yeah. Yeah, with the Soul Calibur, I just feel like maybe because he makes a good thumbnail, just because it's Yoda, you know, he's a Jedi Master, he's really popular in fiction. But yeah, like you said, there has to been like quote more worse characters in Soul Calibur. But yeah.
And funnily enough, I could actually give an honest answer. I would say Voldo.
Oh really?
Yeah. He's actually quite easy to parry, and also he doesn't actually do quite well when you mix it up from low to high attacks. Like he also seems to struggle with mid attacks as well.
Yeah.
Especially when you catch him off with the parries.
But that probably wouldn't have been a good thumbnail for their channel, because seeing like a BDSM type claw guy on the thumbnail wouldn't have hit as hard as Yoda.
Yeah, I think TripleJump would kind of be too pussy to do that.
But yeah,
I mean, if I had to do the thumbnail, I think I could have made it worse.
I'm not sure, but like but this list, I don't think anyone could make a worse list other than this list, you know, because it's already like kind of bad.
I know.
For the MVC option, I understand why they would say Servbot, because MVC2 has like the most amount of eyes on it, because it is the most iconic one in the series. But I would rather go with, I think he was in Marvel Superheroes. I think he was in Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter, but he's that Japanese comedian guy, Norimaro, that was only in the Japanese version, and he was just like a goofy ass character that just looked fucking dumb, which was the point of it. He was just a dumb character. Whereas the Japanese comedian guy, and he has like a schoolboy outfit, and he's just throwing fucking rulers and pencils, and he's like gooning over like the female characters, and it's just a much worse character rather than like Servbot, because it's like, why is he here? And I'm very surprised they have him in the collection. But you know, Servbot, he's the little Lego guy that everyone knows, so I see why they picked him. But I think there are more worse characters in MVC in the franchise.
Yeah, I mean, I would kind of have a list already prepared, but before we go on to continue with the conversation, you mentioned that there was a Japanese comedian that was in MVC2 or Marvel Superheroes.
Yeah.
Funny you should say that. Have you ever played Tabal Number 1?
I've seen it, I just don't. I've never played it, but I know what it is. It's like that Toriyama fighting game.
Yeah, apparently his little Tori mascot he draws is a playable character. So it's just kind of crazy knowing that you're literally playing playing a fighting game with a mangaka. And the best thing is he's actually genuinely a good character.
That's good. He at least made the self-insert like good there. And I guess if we can go to like the Smash Bros, just because like I have it on the mind right now. I wouldn't put Ganondorf there. I think I remember this because I remember when I was younger. I think in Melee, the worst characters are some of the Pokemon characters. Like Pichu could, like, every move that Pokemon did, it would hurt you. And I think there's a player called Hungrybox who has made waves in that community. Using Jigglypuff, because I heard that character is really bad, and just seeing someone pull off something with Jigglypuff is just way better. But I'm not sure. I think this is just like someone who just has like a passing interest in like quote unquote fighting games, and they just pick whatever they didn't like using. You know?
Yeah. But I mean, that is kind of a subject. I mean, that's actually kind of subjective to most of us, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be kind of hypocritical to actually point that out on them, that they picked something that they don't like. But then again, are they actually saying it because they genuinely believe that, or are they formulating opinions of other people?
Yeah. Which could be the general consensus on most of their lists, because yeah, okay, you can pick Sanji and you can't fight women, and then there's the Servat, and then Dan Hibiki because he's the joke character. But I can already just think like a few characters where I'm like, okay, you're better off just using someone else, or just like thinking you're gonna do better with like another character in specific rosters, and picking the ones where like, oh, he's the joke character, okay, he's the bad one, so we'll put him in the list.
It does seem disingenuous, I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah, because I'm not sure if you have anything more else to say on the list, or do you just want to go straight into what we could say as the worst characters on our end, or do you want to like...
Yeah, I'd say we'll go on to that. I'll let you go first.
Yeah. So, I would say for my worst character, it's a very niche fighter. But if you guys can remember, there's this game called, it was on PlayStation, and it's based off the Gundam franchise, sort of like an all-star fighting. It's called Gundam Battle Assault, or I think Gundam Battle Assault 2. And there's a character, right, because you have all these badass, like, mobile suits. You have, like, the new Gundam, you have the fucking fighting Gundam, which is the ones from G Gundam, And then all of a sudden you have the fucking mobile suit, which a lot of people know, and they call it the ball. And it's just like it's literally what it sounds like. It's just a ball with arms and like a head cannon, and that thing will fucking die in like 2 hits. And I would say that's the worst character. And it's like, why would you even pick this fucking character? And and then it's even worse because it's like, why would you choose him? You're gonna get killed in 2 hits. You're better off using like a Zaku or something. If you guys can understand most of this, because those things do die really fast. But I would put that in the list.
I honestly would have chosen a Leo over a Zaku.
Oh.
Again, I am a wing tard, so
Yeah.
go figure.
I love Wing.
But anyway, what else would you add?
I can't really think of much. I could say this, but although this character is really, a lot of characters are really good in Third Strike, which we can go back to talk about like when it comes to Garo, because it's such a small roster and for the next generation thing. But if I were to say it, man, I would like in terms of just gameplay and not in like aesthetics, because I really love this character. But 12 is such a cool character, but he has, I think, the lowest health in the game. He has so like many unconventional moves. But if you fight against a good 12, you're cooked, man. But I would put him in the list with somewhere like very low, like maybe next to Dan or something.
Are you talking about 12 from Street Fighter 3?
Yeah, 12 from Street Fighter 3.
Yeah, I mean, I do see how like 12 actually works, and when in right hands, they're actually pretty scary, especially when they can do like X copy. Well, I feel that in that game, I wouldn't actually say he's not the worst, but I wouldn't say that he isn't that great to play. Someone can probably prove me wrong and tell me skill issue.
Yeah. But it's like I said, everyone has the ability to parry, and they have good supers. So for me, it's just hard to put them in there. But just because everyone knows Dan more, and he would make the list.
Yeah, but I feel like if that was the case, they might as well add more Street Fighters to it and just say top like top 10 worst Street Fighters,
Yeah.
then we kind of would make this sort of list redundant.
But yeah, well, let's go see what would you think as like what would you put on the list? You know.
I actually got 4 in mind, actually. And the first one I'm kind of just gonna get out of the way would be Typhon from Rumblefish 2. Not because, I mean, he's actually a decent character by far, but he's also the worst, especially on arcade mode, because in like on the Rumblefish Plus game, it's really hard to actually get any hits in, and he's practically flying all around doing like overheads and shit, and it just gets really tedious, and to the point you can't do any blocks. You might as well hold a white flag when it comes to Typhon. For number 2, I actually would genuinely. Again, we're on Tabal number 1 for the PlayStation. I would actually say Mufu is also a terrible character, purely for the fact that he practically takes up half the stage. He's that huge. His hitbox is huge, but the thing is, when you block into Tabal, you don't take any damage. So you could just practically waste your opponent's time with Mufu. And having a character like him in the roster is pretty annoying. For number 3, I kind of definitely want to bring in a arena fighter character, considering the fact that like they didn't use they didn't use traditional fighters in that list, so I might as well bring an arena fighter. And it would I would honestly say Mifune from Naruto Ninja Storm 3. Because most of the characters in there have probably mostly OP bullshit taijutsu and ninjutsu at their disposal. Heck, even genjutsu characters are fun to play, but when it comes to a guy who fucking brings a sword to a shuriken fight, yeah, it's not gonna gradually end well. And finally, for number 4, oh god, this one's gonna fucking hurt, because I know I'm gonna have to eventually say it, but I would honestly say Hakan from Street Fighter 4.
Oh really?
Yeah, I just can't get into the design of his character, because he kind of looks like a mustachioed Hellboy who has a fucking oil fetish.
Yeah.
And not only that, but that oil seems more of a detriment than any use.
Yeah, because he could slide like across the whole stage and all that stuff, and people could do setups, but it was like a worse Jamie in Street Fighter 6, where you have to just keep pumping it, and it's just not. It was never worth it, But yeah, I'm thinking about other characters as well from Street Fighter 4. I mean, I could say Rufus, but I used Rufus a lot as a kid. It's just a lot of people don't like his design. Or the Capri. But one more character I wanted to talk about, which it might have been forgotten in the E3, because earlier in the video they mentioned guest characters, and in a game where it has a really bad mechanic like gems and bad box art Mega Man and Pac-Man and the little cats in Street Fighter Cross Tekken, a lot of people sometimes forget that Cole McGrath is in that game. for the PlayStation version, and
Right.
the reason is because people never fucking used him, because he was the guest character in that game that felt like he was shoehorned in, and I think he had like really bad damage and really low health, so which is why no one ever used him, you know. And when that game's brought up, no one ever talks about Cole McGrath, at least from what I remember, and it's so fucked up because it's like it was like around like the height of that series, and no one just like decided to use him. I mean, he just looks like a mod in the game, you know, with the weird like clunky art style. But that's just like what I can think of from the top of my head. But yeah, I would say it's just out of like both of us, we just made our own like list of worst characters.
I feel like we had 8, so I think we've got one more each to choose.
Oh yeah.
And honestly, if I had to actually pick one, I would definitely say. I'd definitely say. Okay, this one is probably gonna be like odd for me to choose, but I feel like a character that would actually be terrible would be. You know, I have to let you continue. I gotta think. Oh no, wait! I think I've decided. I think the worst character I would choose would be from the Mortal Kombat series, actually, and I specifically choose like Katana. I think she was in Ultimate UKM3. I'm like, she actually played a hell of a lot better in like the future subsequent games, and I actually genuinely liked playing her in like Mortal Kombat X. Now I know someone who watches my videos will probably bring up and said I don't like Mortal Kombat. Yes, I don't like the series, but to some degree I have to put my pride aside and play some games that people do play. Yeah. That's what I do. I just want to fight. But anyway, I have to say, aside from those subsequent like future games that actually do her some justice, I can't stand her in UKM3, especially with the fact that it's kind of hard to pull off her moves, and also like her fatality is also kind of hard to pull off on the like Super Nintendo.
Yeah, and MK does have like it sucks now because recently they haven't been in the best light, but they do have a lot of characters where it's like why the fuck are they here? Like there's a character in Armageddon like Meat, or the mocap guy, and I forgot that guy with the red eye and the like he's not Kano, he's the other guy, like army looking guy with a mustache. But
I was going to ask, is he of the darker skin variety?
I think he was Asian.
It's not Jax then.
No, it's not Jax. Jax is I think I fucking forgot who it was. But I'd say for my final character, I would say, because I kind of want to talk more Marvel vs. Capcom, because that game, like that whole series, just has like, it has a lot of great characters, but a lot of characters just like, why are you here? And for me, it'll have to be a tie between, because I don't want to go into Marvel Infinite, but I'm going to talk about Marvel vs. Capcom 3. It's either got to be like C Viper or Trish, just because I see no one use those characters, and even like a lot of people say even Hashenko is not that bad of a character, but that's one of my favorite Capcom characters, so I'm not going to consider her a worst fighting game character. But I would probably say maybe C Viper, just because I don't ever see anyone do anything cool with her, and like why was she even considered for that?
I have played a few C Viper characters. They are actually she's actually genuinely good, but But it depends on, again,
Yeah,
it
who
depends on
you?
who uses them.
Yeah, but I could easily just go into Marvel's Capcom Infinite and be like, oh, fucking Captain Marvel, just because no one likes that character, both in like the fandom and in that game, because people use other characters other than Captain Marvel. But yeah, I'd say just off of that, we made a better list than Triple Jump.
I mean, subjectively, yes. Objectively, I think people might take offence to a few.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure one of mine will at least make one's blood boil.
Yeah, I think mine's will too, but we'll see. But that has been Triple Jump's worst characters in fighting games. If I were to review this video, I would probably give it like a 5 out of 10. It's not to say that the video was bad. It's just that to say that the list felt a little normie, and just like as a fighting game fan and fighting game channel, you know, I just didn't know like half of these characters. That's just on my end because I don't watch a lot of anime like I used to when I was a kid, and most of these games, subjectively speaking, I don't really consider them as fighting games or traditional fighting games. But what do you think, Saku? What do you rate the video?
I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10.
Oh,
I know. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. Any more would have been just way too generous for him. Not only it insulted our boy Rock,
yeah.
but also, this is why I say these people should just not also tell jokes. Also, while we're at it, I feel that the list makes sense to some, but if they're not going to actually genuinely play a game and only formulate it off the opinion and consensus of people, which is actually a valid form of source, I'm not going to lie to you, I just feel to understand the characters a lot better, you'd have to play it yourself, and you'd have to see why and say why you don't like them.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't show this at the grand big stage at Evo and see what people say. But yeah, Triple Jump, you know, do better next time. Invite us on the show. We'll show you a better list that maybe might not be as divisive.
Yeah, heck, we'll show you a better mid-tier list.
Yeah. Yeah, because now that you brought up Rock Howard, fuck off with that. He's the boy. Just because you hear a lot on Reddit doesn't mean he's bad. There's a reason why he's still making it in other games, and 25 years later we're going to get a sequel. But yeah.
That's what April's all about, guys. That.
Yeah. But, well, I just want to say thank you, Warriors, for watching. I want to also give a special thank you to Saku. He suggested this video, and this is the first collab on the channel as a video, not as like a stream or anything. But yeah, thank you, Saku, for suggesting the video and giving your input and just collabing with me. Where can they find you and have some closing statements?
I've really got not much to say other than if I ever find one that is just exponentially worse by these guys, you'll be the first to know.
Yeah. Maybe next time I'll host it on your channel.
Bet.
Yeah. But yeah, you can check out Saku's channel. I have it on the description. I'll also have the video we reacted to in the description. And you can follow our socials on Instagram and Twitter. But thank you guys for watching, and as always, I await your return, Warriors. Until then, I want you guys to take care and fight on.
Fuck off.
Continue.